Golden sun upon the sea,
golden sun is over me.
Ukulele melody,
drifting on a gentle breeze.
Let the worries fall away on this slow.
All right, hey guys, Uncle Sully back at you again. I got some more food videos. This one here is a general longevity food for general food preparation. I don't know. I'm not positive. I haven't watched through these. We're going to do this and have a little fun. And I didn't have a little preview video for this, so the minute I click over, it's going to start. And we'll see what this one's about. See if there's good information in there, or are we just going to make fun of the ridiculousness they throw at us through the internet? There's a lot of doo-doo and poo-poo on the internet, and sometimes you just slip in it, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's get to it.
Age, our bodies change, and so do our nutritional needs. And sometimes foods that we've always thought of as perfectly healthy can start to pose some unexpected risks. So today, we're going to jump into some of these hidden dangers and talk about how to build a safer, healthier plate.
Yeah, that sounds like my whole life. Jump into the hidden dangers. Oh my God, you should have seen my ex. Anyway, let's not get into that.
Right off the bat, is it possible that your healthy fruit bowl is actually in a fight with your medicine cabinet? For one very popular fruit, the answer is a surprising and definite yes. So let's get right in.
Okay, we already had a grapefruit one. Depending on whether how you're watching my my videos, I had a whole video on grapefruit and how it affects your prescriptions, but I never heard of such a thing. So anyway, let's keep going.
Your topic, something called the grapefruit effect. This is a really well-known and potentially serious issue that happens between this everyday fruit and a whole lot of common medications. And here's the crazy part. It doesn't take much at all. We're not talking about eating a whole crate of them. Just a single grapefruit or one...
A whole crate of them? Do you eat a whole crate of grapefruit? I live in Maui, so grapefruits are few and far between. It's all mangoes and papayas and coconuts and loco.
of juice, that's less than a standard cup, is enough to seriously change how your body handles certain drugs. And believe me, this isn't some super rare thing. The list of medications known to interact with grapefruit is already over 85, and it's still growing. This list includes a ton of common prescriptions that many of us rely on every single day. So what kind of drugs are we talking about here? Well, the list is pretty long, but it hits some major categories. We're talking about certain statins used for cholesterol, some common blood pressure medications, even some drugs for anxiety and antihistamines. It also affects really critical medications like antiarrhythmic agents and drugs to prevent organ transplant rejection. So you might be wondering, how on earth does a grapefruit do this? Well,
dude, grapefruit is like a nuclear bomb for people that are taking prescriptions. Holy moly.
Your body has this special enzyme in your intestine that's like a traffic cop. Its job is to control how much of a medicine gets broken down before it enters your bloodstream. But grapefruit has these natural compounds in it that come along and basically put up a roadblock, completely blocking that enzyme from doing its job. With a traffic cop gone, way too much of the drug can flood into your system. And what happens is it basically creates a potential overdose situation right inside your own body. As the U.S. Food and Drug Administration puts it, when there is too much drug in the blood, you may have...
Linking up grapefruit juice with overdoses of drugs were two things I did not link together in my life.
For some drugs, that could mean something as serious as liver damage or kidney failure. So the bottom line, and this is really important, if you take any prescription medication, you absolutely have to ask your doctor or pharmacist if it's safe to have grapefruit. All right, so moving on from that really specific grapefruit thing, let's talk about some more familiar faces, the usual suspects in our...
Okay, now this is what I was thinking all these videos were going to be about when I went into Notebook LM and I said, give me 10 foods that seniors should avoid or limit. I didn't think about overdosing Or some of these other videos that are like scary. You could get salmonella and end up in the hospital and they got to remove your colon and replace it with the inner tube or something. Like, what? I was just thinking about, hey, watch how much milk you eat, watch the soda, watch, you know, some of the other stuff, watch the breakfast cereal, you know, that kind of stuff. Okay, let's keep going. Now, this stuff makes sense. Sodium, sugar, and fats. Sodium, I think that was a band in the 60s, right? Anyway, we'll get back to it.
Get a handle on as we age. I'm talking about sodium, sugar, and unhealthy fats. And as we get older, there's kind of this double whammy.
I'm glad they made that distinction, because there are healthy fats. The kind of fats that are in, like margarine. So my mother especially would like cook a chicken breast and slather it with country crock or some margarine that isn't that good for you. The warnings are out there. The seed oils, I think they put in it, and it's like this awful oils, other than an olive oil or something you should be using, according to specialists. I'm not a food specialist, but maybe I'm 100% wrong, and margarine is the best thing for you, but I don't think so. Let's continue.
For one, our taste buds can get a little less sensitive, which might make you reach for that salt shaker more often. At the exact same time, our kidneys just aren't as good at filtering out all that extra sodium, which can lead straight to high blood pressure. But the good news? There's a secret weapon to fight back: potassium. Potassium actually helps your body counteract the effects of sodium on your blood pressure. So this gives us a really simple game plan. Try to swap out the high sodium traps, you know, things like canned soups, deli meats, and frozen dinners, and bring in the potassium powerhouses, like spinach, bananas, and tomatoes. So, how much are we aiming for? Well, health experts recommend keeping your sodium under 2,300 milligrams a day. To put that in perspective, that's only about 1 single teaspoon of salt for the entire day. The big problem is that most people are getting way more than that, closer to 3,400 milligrams. And it's mostly from all...
Yeah, it's a lot of prepackaged foods have salt in it and sugar in it. Like some breads actually have a lot more sugar, has the sugar in it and a lot more salt than you think it would have. And you're like, wait a second, I thought it was bread. I thought it was like wheat and yeast and that's it, water. But no, they put a whole bunch of crap in it. You got to watch what you're getting, especially fast food. Like the buns and some of the hamburgers have a bunch of sugar in it. It's like, really? Anyway, maybe I'll make a video about that.
processed foods. Okay, next step after salt are sugar and bad fats. Those sugary drinks are a big culprit, causing blood sugar to spike. And then you have fried foods, which are often loaded with trans fats. I mean, they are just the absolute worst for your heart. They do two terrible things at once. They raise your bad cholesterol, the LDL, and they lower your good cholesterol, the HDL. Okay, so after all...
And there's some good oils you can cook them in. If you hear, I think it's marrow, is that what it is? Oil that's actually from bone marrow, is that what it is? That they cook it in, and olive oil, of course, is a lot better for you than regular seed oils that they cook them in peanut oil or canola oil or some of these that are bad for you. So it's a lot of times it's not the food, the fried food itself. In other words, fried chicken. Chicken's good for you. You know, if you have fried other stuff, fried mushrooms, the mushrooms are good for you. The problem is you're dunking them in really bad oils, right? So, and that's my unprofessional opinion. Let's get back to it.
Sound a little daunting, but here's the good news. Getting a handle on this isn't about feeling deprived. It's really just about making smart swaps, especially when it comes to the main events on your plate, protein and carbs. All right, let's talk about the big one, carbs. For years, carbs have gotten such a bad rap, right? But the truth is, it's a lot more complicated than that. Your body absolutely needs carbs for energy. The whole secret is just choosing the right kind. See, it's not that all carbs are bad, it's about which ones you choose. The refined carbs, things like white bread and sugary cereals, they break down super fast in your body, and that causes a big spike in your blood sugar.
I've always warned people, and this is stuff that I found out about after I had bypass surgery. And suddenly you kind of realize when you ask the nurse when you're laying there in the bed, going, oh, so I had a heart problem because of all the drugs that I did for 25 years. And she said, no, it was probably what you ate. I'm like, really? It wasn't the stuff that I took? Like, it was what I ate. So suddenly I realized, really? And cereals are just a handful of wheat and sugar. They have no nutrition. Don't get me wrong, some Captain Crunch, pretty good. Then you put it with milk, and milk is just saturated fat. It's such an unhealthy thing to have in the morning. My opinion.
Like oatmeal, brown rice, or whole wheat bread, they digest much more slowly. This gives you nice, steady, sustained energy and helps keep your blood sugar stable, which is just so important for your long-term health. And what about protein? Well, some of the go-to choices can actually be a bit of a problem. Processed meats like bacon, sausage, and those deli meats.
Right, and that's the thing I've said in one of my other videos, I believe. They lump together hot dogs and some deli meats that are processed. They like take all the meat, chunk it all up, and then squeeze it into a loaf and then slice it instead of it being, a chicken breast or a turkey breast or a piece of steak or a piece of pork, and then just putting it and slicing it. They process it like a hot dog. So you have to be careful what kind of deli meat you're eating. But they put in those type of deli meats with steak or chicken that are delicious, good for you. I mean, they're respectively good for you in respect to the processed meats. So they put the two together and say, oh, well, see, meats aren't good for you. It's like, no. It's kind of like saying you can take a potato and bake a potato and then put tons of sour cream and cheese and all kinds of stuff for it and say, well, potatoes are bad for you because it's got all this fat. No, it's what you're doing to it that makes it bad. It isn't necessarily the product itself. It's just like the meats when you're talking about regular chicken, regular turkey, regular coming right from the bird or right from the animal. And the processed stuff, two totally different animals, and they lump them together, which I thought was always disingenuous. You know what I'm trying to say. I don't speak English very well.
They also have things called nitrate.
Disingenuous.
And high intake of these has been linked to things like inflammation and a higher risk for heart disease. So what are the better choices? Well, you've got lots. Focus on lean proteins like fish and poultry, and please don't forget about the power of plants. Bringing in more plant-based proteins like beans, lentils, or tofu is just a fantastic way to get the protein you need without all that extra sodium and saturated fat. Phew, okay. We've talked about a lot. What to eat, what to watch out for, but how do you actually put this into action,
That's a really good idea, and a lot of people are scared to look at the label of the stuff that they love. Right? You look at the label of, like I said, some juices and some stuff, and it's like, you look at this like, no, it's just juice and love and happiness. And you look at the side, it's like, well, I can't pronounce any of that. Bread is the same way. You think it's just wheat and barley and some yeast, and they throw it in a pan. It's like, no, it's got a whole list of nasty stuff. We don't know what's in it, or could be nasty.
Grocery store. This brings us to what is, honestly, your single greatest superpower, learning to read the nutrition label. And I promise, reading a label doesn't need a science degree. Just start with this super simple 3-point check. First, always look at the serving size. It's shocking how often a small package is actually 2 or 3 servings. Second, just scan for the sodium. Try to find foods with 140 milligrams or less per serving. And third, scan the ingredients list for 2 words, partially hydrogenated. If you see partially hydrogenated oils, put it back on the shelf. That's the code name for those really harmful trans fats. And that's really what it all comes down to. Look, knowing all this stuff is one thing, but actually doing something is where the magic happens. So looking at everything we talked about, from grapefruit to food labels, I want you to think about this. What is one small, easy swap you can make this week? Because that's how it starts. Thanks for joining me.
Well, that one wasn't too bad. There was some really good information at the end there about the trans fats and cereals being bad for you and some of the other stuff. A lot of times they won't tell you about that. All this information is coming from the internet, and the internet is about money, and money is the big corporations that make, sodas and this other stuff. So it's trying to get information. No, it's really not that bad for you, according to our huge donors. So it's the same thing with industries, the milk industry and the egg industry, and they're like, no, it's 100% fine. You're going to milk 24/7. You should just bathe in the crap, according to us. Or we have no health problems here. We've had all our scientists look at it. You know it's garbage. So anyway, that's some good information there at the end. So anyway, we're going to keep going. Uncle Sully signing off. And aloha from Maui, Hawaii. Aloha.
Golden sun upon the sea.
Golden sun is over me.